All right, folks. So I'm going to read a story this week along with this course review. I'm not going to review this course. This is a round I played last week at Twin Lakes Golf Course in Clifton, Virginia. In any case, so I have been trying to settle a question, a debate between the two Titleist drivers I have and the two TaylorMade drivers that I have, which I've been dealing with, a debate that I've been dealing with for the past 6 months. And I have probably going to take a break for the next 2 weeks at least from playing any new courses or playing any expensive courses. And I have something in mind that I'm trying to work on that I want to do before the summer gets over. Certainly sometime around the 4th, maybe July the 4th or something. So I'm playing in this league, and this league has tournaments in pretty much every major city, you know. And the problem is that each one of these tournaments in the major cities are at courses that I haven't played for almost all of them. If you can imagine, like every state capital, and they have a local branch of this league and so forth and so on. So, out of, let's say, 45 out of 50 states, let's say, there's at least one city in each state where they have a local version of this tournament. It's a national tournament. So that's a lot of courses that I haven't played, but at the same time, there's still a couple like in San Diego and New York that do play courses that I have played. So there's a lot of potential for playing new courses, going forward, while at the same time I'm still playing courses that I played often. I played often over the past 20, 30 years. So I went out and tried this one course, Twin Lakes, one weekend with two of my four drivers, and this past weekend, with the other two of my four drivers. And so that's one TaylorMade, one Titleist on one, and then the other pair of TaylorMade and Titleist on the other. Due to circumstances of the day, I actually kept score. It's been the first time that I've kept score in a long time. I actually kept solid score. And I actually had a better round last week than I did this week. And one of the things that I was having, I guess, is a debate is between those two TaylorMade drivers, because one is a 9.5 driver and the other one's a 10.5 version of the same driver. So I really had a big question in my mind is, I played the 9.5 one week and then I went back and played the 10.5. And I was like, well, what do I expect to see out of the 10.5, compared to the 9.5? It's the exact same model other than the difference in loft. And what I expected was to get more distance out of the 10.5 compared to the 9.5, because I have played them before enough times to know that there is a significant advantage in the slightly higher loft of the 10.5. It just makes it easier to get the ball up in the air. I don't have to worry about exactly what my attack angle is, and basically I can sit back and say, all right, I'm going to focus on contact, get the ball in the air, make good contact and everything, and I get good distance. So it was surprising to me to find out that I actually felt more confident playing the 9.5 club than the 10.5, because I could tee the ball up a little lower than normal, focus on just getting the club flat at the bottom of the swing, making the low part of the swing right at the ball, and get a good drive. If I did that with the 9.5 club, I got a really good shot. I could get exceptionally good contact, solid contact, and good distance with the 9.5 club, whereas the 10, it always felt like it wasn't quite hitting square. But it was good for hitting high shots along the tree line. So if I was in a situation where I had a tight fairway in front of me, I could actually play the ball above the trees with the 10.5 driver, where if I had a wide open shot and plenty of space to work with, I could hit the 9.5 driver, stay below the trees, but not have any problem of running into the trees. I actually had a lot of confidence doing that with the 9.5-inch driver, a 9.5 loft driver, and I was looking to see if I could get even more distance using the same technique with the 10.5-inch driver. And I ended up it just didn't work out that way. What I ended up having was a couple of lessons that I learned from this. And since my two Titleist drivers I have a 9.5, a 10.5, and I have an 11.5, but the 11.5 is a TS2i, and the 10.5 is a 917 D3. They're just somewhat different look and feel, different ways to hit, aren't nearly as open as the TaylorMades. And that's one of the advantages I think the TaylorMade has over the Titleist. It's very easy to get the club open. And you don't have to do too much. You just, set it up to be at the lowest position, and the face is going to be, I think it's -4 degrees open. Whereas the Titleist, the most you're going to get out of it is -1.5. So in terms of face to path or openness or whatever. So the Titleists are much more biased, I would say, towards playing draws and cuts than the TaylorMades are, which is good when you're trying to hit long distance. When you're trying to hit long distance, you want the least amount of spin on the shot. So while it's easier to hit controlled draws and cuts with the Titleist driver, it's easier to get consistent straight shots with good distance with the TaylorMades, but you have to commit to a straight shot and not try to hit any spin. So the characteristics of the two sets of drivers by the two different manufacturers are significantly different. One is you really kind of want to play a draw for the longest ball. You hit at least a little bit of draw. And the other one is you really want to get it just absolutely square. The problem with hitting an absolutely squared shot or trying to hit a neutral shot is that if you're just off, the ball is going to go straight left or straight right. It doesn't go straight. It's like, the harder you hit the ball, the less spin you get, and it just goes straight offline. So the TaylorMades are good for putting the ball in like a 5-degree window plus or minus off your line of the stance, but you're never 100% sure whether it's going to be plus or minus or neutral. So you have to play those when you have a good amount of space. If you're really going to go for distance, you need a fairly well open window to hit into. Whereas the Titleists are good for playing around corners. If you have a draw shot, or a cut shot, they're good for that. You don't have to put any real spin on it. You just need a little bit of either lead the club so that it naturally picks up cut spin, or lag this club so it naturally picks up draw spin. And it's really a very different type of game to play with these two manufacturers. The point is, I was able to actually put the ball in play with any of the four clubs, just not 100% consistency, but I certainly was able to get most of my drives in, which for me is a big step forward. I was able to get most of my drives in. I didn't have to worry about driving, okay? 9 times out of 10, I could put the ball in play where I wanted to put it and get a good shot. It may not have been consistently 275. It may not have been, 290, like I can get out of it, but at least I was getting 250 and I was getting the ball in play. It's the rest of my game that began to give me fits at that point. And this is where I started to get this feeling like I had pushed this stone up a hill and put it at the top of the hill, and it just rolled right back down to the bottom. And I got to start all over again with my medium irons, my long irons. My long irons have been giving me trouble for a while. Long irons, medium irons, short irons, chip shots, pitches, and putting. Everything else was now starting to be a problem. And I was just having to hit shots that were coming up short or long. Putts, I was missing 8-foot putts and stuff. I was like, all of a sudden now that my driving game is better, now I'm seeing all the weaknesses in the rest of my game. And so I would just say that having played golf as long as I've been playing it, I've been playing about 25 years now, having put as much time into golf, as much money into golf, as much effort into golf as I put into it, it's just an odd feeling to play and still shoot about the same score that I played years ago. And I mean like 10, 15, 20 years ago. You go through the stage where you're getting to 100 and breaking 100. Then there's the stage where you're getting to 95 and you can shoot 95, 100 consistently. And then there's the 90, 95 zone, and then there's the 85, 90 zone. And I found myself right back in that 90, 95, sometimes even 100 zone on courses that I've played dozens of times. You know, a dozenth time I played that course over the years. Know it like the back of my hand. Still have trouble breaking 100 on it. Still have, 95 being just outside my reach because you're missing. I'm missing a chip shot a little short. My pitch is a little bit long. My putts, I'm having to 2 and 3 putts that should be 1 and 2 putts. It was just really frustrating. And the problem is, it's summer, it's hot, you're sweating already as it is. You're trying not to worry as it is. You're trying to play a free-flowing game. You're trying not to get uptight. You're trying not to, get down on things. And I realized I really enjoy playing golf and not keeping score. I just really, really enjoy it. And now I remember why. This is because when I'm playing for score, I just tend to get a little bit too uptight, a little bit too worried. I can play well. I can play par for a number of holes. But eventually there comes that point where you par like 4 or 5 holes in a row and you say, man, I'm not that good. I just know I'm not that good. And sure enough, you fuck up the next 3 or 4 holes. So it's an odd feeling. But one of the things that definitely limits us, I think, in terms of playing is our expectations of how good or bad we are. Like, we can play well up to a point, at which point we start thinking, I'm not this good. I shouldn't be playing this well. And everything falls apart. Suddenly, you lose faith in your drive. You lose faith in your irons. You lose faith in your putter. And everything starts to fall apart. And I'm just learning, going to get confidence in this lesson, that half of golf is feeling confident that you can do something without overthinking it, without over worrying about it, accepting the consequences if you miss a shot, not getting wound up in the moment, to play through the moment and move on to the next shot. And I just wanted to make a video about that, even if it's just one slide, because it's so important, I think, to relax and have fun playing golf, but not disrespect the game, to take it seriously enough, but not too seriously. And so we'll go back out again and we'll start rolling the stone up the hill and see what happens.